It's an age-old mystery that has gripped the world for more than a century. Jack the Ripper, the mysterious serial killer whose identity has long remained a mystery.
That is.
Until now.
Yeah, DNA from a shawl recovered at the scene of one of his crimes has incredibly found a 100% match.
The mystery of Jack the Ripper has haunted both amateur sleuths and professional criminologists for over a century, but thanks to modern science, it might finally be solved. For decades, this infamous figure, whose brutal crimes terrorized Victorian London, has been a subject of intense fascination and fear. Countless theories have circulated, some grounded in factual investigation, others laced with wild speculation. And while many names have been tossed around as potential suspects, it is only now, with the help of groundbreaking DNA evidence, that one individual seems to have emerged from the shadows as the likely culprit. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish immigrant who lived in London's East End, has long been a prime suspect in the case, but it is only recently that scientific advances have provided what many believe to be irrefutable evidence. Could this be the final chapter in the Jack the Ripper saga? The details of the discovery are as chilling as they are groundbreaking. The pivotal piece of evidence, a stained shawl found at the crime scene of Catherine Eddowes, the fourth victim of Jack the Ripper, has long been a point of intrigue. This shawl, recovered near Eddowes' mutilated body in 1888, was long considered a piece of secondary evidence, its significance overshadowed by the gruesome nature of the crimes themselves. However, in recent years, the shawl has become central to a forensic examination that may finally uncover the identity of the murderer. DNA samples from the shawl, which were painstakingly extracted and analyzed by biochemist Jari Luhalainen and his team at Liverpool John Moores University, have shown promising results. The test compared mitochondrial DNA from the shawl to that of living descendants of Eddowes and Kosminski, and remarkably, the evidence matched perfectly. This genetic match is the strongest lead to date. Unlike previous attempts to use DNA in the case, which were often plagued by ambiguity and lack of conclusive results, these findings were made public in a peer-reviewed journal, solidifying their place in the annals of forensic history. Forensic scientists involved in the investigation have stated that this is the most systematic and most advanced genetic analysis of the Jack the Ripper case, marking a significant leap in both forensic science and criminal investigation.
The identity of one of the world's most notorious serial killers may have been discovered. Forensic scientists say Jack the Ripper's real name may have been Aaron Kosminski. That's according to genetic test results published last week. The 23-year-old Polish barber was a prime police suspect at the time of the 19th century murders. His DNA was reportedly found on the shawl of Jack the Ripper's fourth victim. Researchers tested and matched it using DNA from living relatives of both Kosminski and the victim.
It's a breakthrough that seems to provide the missing link in the long unsolved case, but while many are eager to claim closure, others remain cautious, pointing out flaws in the methodology and asking whether this evidence can truly be trusted. Aaron Kosminski, a barber by trade, was one of the first suspects in the Ripper investigation. He was known to be mentally unstable, and it was widely reported that he had a history of violent tendencies. Kosminski was eventually confined to an insane asylum, where he remained until his death in 1919. His connection to the murders was long speculated, but there was never any definitive proof. The latest genetic findings, however, seem to confirm what many have suspected for years. Kosminski was 23 years old at the time of the murders, and he fits many of the behavioral patterns associated with the killer, including a fear of women, the tendency toward violent outbursts, and the hallucinatory episodes he suffered from. But what makes this discovery particularly compelling is the direct link to the crime scene, courtesy of the shawl that had long been dismissed as an inconsequential piece of evidence. Despite the scientific acclaim surrounding the discovery, there are still skeptics who raise important questions. The use of mitochondrial DNA, which is inherited only from the mother, has been critiqued for its limited ability to provide definitive results in criminal investigations. Some experts argue that mitochondrial DNA is not as unique as nuclear DNA, meaning that while a match can place the suspect in the general area, it cannot conclusively prove the suspect's guilt. According to forensic scientists like Hansi Weissensteiner from Innsbruck Medical University, mitochondrial DNA is useful for excluding suspects, but cannot definitively link an individual to a crime scene. It is possible, he argues, that the DNA from the shawl could have come from any number of people who lived in the area at the time. further complicating the matter. This is a point that continues to be hotly debated within the scientific community, as experts weigh the reliability of the new evidence. Another critical issue that arises in the case is the chain of custody of the shawl. Forensic science demands an unbroken chain of evidence, yet the origins of the shawl remain murky. The shawl was purportedly found at the scene of Edouard's murder, but questions about its handling and preservation over the years remain unanswered. The shawl changed hands multiple times before it was purchased by Russell Edwards, the historian who later brought it to Luolainen for testing. Some argue that this lack of verifiable history raises concerns about contamination or mishandling, which could affect the integrity of the evidence. Critics have also pointed out that there are no eyewitness accounts or contemporary records that confirm the shawl was even at the crime scene, leaving the whole premise of its significance open to question. In addition to the genetic evidence, some have pointed to circumstantial evidence linking Kosminski to the murders. Police records from the time show that Kosminski was a suspect early on, but he was never arrested or charged, and the investigation ultimately fizzled out. In the years since, his name has continued to crop up in various Ripper theories, but with no definitive proof to back it up. The latest DNA findings have finally added a layer of credibility to these long-standing suspicions, but many historians caution against jumping to conclusions without more concrete evidence. They point to the fact that Kosminski was not the only suspect at the time, and the evidence linking him to the crimes is far from ironclad. One of the more intriguing aspects of this case is the role of Russell Edwards, who bought the shawl in 2007 and has since become one of the most vocal advocates for Kosminski's identification as Jack the Ripper. Edwards, whose interest in the case began after reading about the murders as a child, has devoted much of his life to unraveling the mystery. His book, Naming Jack the Ripper, was released in 2014 and laid out his case for Kosminski's guilt. While Edwards' research has been met with skepticism by some in the academic community, the latest DNA results have given his theory newfound legitimacy. It is, without question, a fascinating turn in a case that has captivated the public for well over a century. Despite the breakthrough, it is clear that the Jack the Ripper case is not yet closed. While DNA evidence is certainly a powerful tool in solving crimes, it is not without its limitations. The scientific community remains divided on the significance of the findings, with some experts calling for more research before making any definitive statements. Meanwhile, the mystery continues to fuel public interest, with books, documentaries, and podcasts continuing to explore the case from every angle. Whether or not Aaron Kosminski is truly Jack the Ripper remains to be seen, but for the first time in decades, there is a glimmer of hope that the case may finally be solved. As this case unfolds, it serves as a reminder of the power of modern forensic science. The advances in DNA technology have allowed investigators to revisit old cases that were once thought to be unsolvable. In some cases, these breakthroughs have led to justice, while in others, they have simply provided answers to long-standing questions. The case of Jack the Ripper may soon be added to that list, but for now, the debate rages on. Was Aaron Kosminski the true identity of Jack the Ripper? Or is there still more to this century-old mystery than meets the eye? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: the hunt for Jack the Ripper will continue to captivate and intrigue for generations to come.